Hi everybody, this is Sandra Angelo broadcasting live from Sandyland, and we're on day number 13. Tomorrow is supposed to be our last day together on the free art lessons here in Sandyland, and I have some really good news for you. We're actually going to extend it by 2 days. Now, we were going to open Pencil Drawing College up tomorrow, and we had some technical problems. Can we talk? Can you spell Malox? Anyway, it's pretty normal, when you're working with technology to have things go wrong. And so it's not the end of the world. So the good news is that you get to have 2 more days. And so we're going to actually be sending the email out to invite you into Pencil Drawing College on Saturday. Okay, so this coming Saturday, watch your inbox to see the email where you get invited to join Pencil Drawing College. And as I said, there's just a few spaces, so you want to be sure that you click on that email right away so that you can grab your spot. So, hi Robert, hi Lori, hi Cynthia, hi everybody. We're so excited that you're here, Betty, and super fun night in Sandyland. And so tonight I'm going to talk about 2 things. I actually got mixed up. Technically I'm supposed to be talking about this tomorrow according to the email, so maybe tomorrow I'll talk about what I was supposed to talk about today. But anyway, I am going to be talking about Michelangelo and what he had that modern artists don't. And this is taken from my course called What Rich Artists Do That Poor Artists Don't, because there are very wealthy artists, contrary to popular, myth. There are artists who make millions of dollars and artists who make 6 figures and who make plenty of money to support themselves. And, Norman Rockwell is an example. He did the covers of the Post for the Saturday Evening Post. And Michelangelo had patrons that supported him. And, Andy Warhol. And we could go on and on and on with all the millionaire artists and the people who are very successful. So I don't know if it was an artist that started that myth that calls artists starving artists. Maybe they did that because they didn't want anybody else to go into that occupation so there wouldn't be as much competition, but it's just not true. There are very, very successful artists out there, and they are the ones who are smart enough to learn how to do business. The only difference between success and failure in art or in plumbing, or in medicine, or in dentistry, or in practicing law, or whatever you're doing, ambulance, driver, whatever you're doing, the difference between success and failure is understanding how to do business and understanding how to build strong skills so you can set yourself apart from the competition. So tonight we're going to focus on Michelangelo, and I actually chose his name because, let's see here. Oh, hi Diana, we're glad you're here live today. I know sometimes you had to join us, catch it on the replay, but today you get to be with us live, so I'm glad you joined us. Anyway, I sound a little bit like one of those, what do you say? I forgot what they're called. ADD people who, you're talking along and then all of a sudden you interrupt yourself, because I keep seeing comments here on the screen and I want to acknowledge what you're saying. So back to where I was talking about Michelangelo. Michelangelo was one of my heroes. I read about his life and I love his work. I love classical art, and so I felt like I had a lot in common with him. I mean, that's pretty bodacious for me to say that, but I had a lot in common with him in my heart and in my soul. And so I actually, when I was in college, I felt like I needed my own name. I was wearing my family's name, and I thought, if I get married, I'll be wearing someone else's name. In this culture, that's what happens to women. And so I felt like I needed my own name because in Africa, we each were given our own name, and our name was based on our personality. So my name in Africa was Tukunda Ndiwan Sombana, and it means if you don't play with me, I'll play by myself. And that was because I was so creative that I just didn't care if the other kids included me. It didn't bother me because I was busy watching the Africans build mud huts and building my own little mud hut, or sewing from the scraps in my mom's sewing room, and making clothing for my dolls, and making all of these really cool things for my toys. So anyway, that was my name in Africa, and I felt like I needed a name for myself as an artist. And so when I was reading about Michelangelo, I decided I would take his name. So my parents' name is McFall, Irish. We're Scotch, Irish, Norwegian, French, English, and American Indian, which is typical American, a purebred mutt. And I decided to take the name Angelo. And so I actually legally changed my name to Sandra Angelo. And it's a good name for a brand. And you should think about that when you sign your art. What is your brand? Who are you? And Michelangelo is classical. I am not a person who throws paint at the canvas. I mean, I think it's fun sometimes to make silly t-shirts, maybe where you throw paint, or make funny tennis shoes or whatever. But in terms of art, I like discipline. I like people who take the time to master the foundations in art and really show good, strong skills. And so I'm just not a big fan of art from the 19th or 20th century. It pretty much turned me off. But I did like the super realism that was in the 70s. But other than that, to me, you could skip that whole century, including this one. But anyway, I love the old art and the classical, Da Vinci and Degas and Van Gogh and Monet and Gauguin and Rembrandt and all those Dutch masters and that kind of stuff. And so I adopted the name Sandra Angelo because it fits my product, And when you sign your work on your paintings or drawings, you need to think about how you're signing and how you're branding yourself. And of course, we go into that in great detail in my marketing program called What Rich Artists Do That Poor Artists Don't, and that's the focus of tonight's topic is Michelangelo, what he did differently and why he was so successful, and what you're doing wrong, that is not leading to the success that you want. And maybe you don't want to be a professional artist, you just want to have fun and relax and enjoy doing your art for, leaving a legacy for your family, drawing pictures of your kids or your grandkids, just doing it to relax. That's a completely valid desire. But if you do want to do things professionally and you want to earn money, whether it's just mad money or big bucks, you need to think about what did the successful people do that I'm not doing. And so we're focusing on Michelangelo tonight. So I posted in Sandyland, on our page, a picture of Michelangelo. He wasn't going to win any beauty contests for sure, but he would win beauty contests for art. Oh my goodness, his art is phenomenal. And he's not just good at drawing and painting. He was amazing at sculpture too. He could just see the figure inside the marble and just bring it out. And he was just an epic artist, one of my biggest heroes. So that's why I took his name. So in America, women take the man's name, which, I don't know, for me that just kind of chafes at me, only because I feel like each person is unique and different and they need their own name. And so, and that's just my African heritage, where everybody was named based on who they are and not on what tribe or family they belong to. So that's just my personal opinion. It's neither here nor there. It's just the way that I was brought up. Okay, so what did Michelangelo do that you are not doing? Well, for most of you, there's a few exceptions in here because we have some of my atelier students watching tonight. They started out in one of the colleges and they were so diligent and showing up. I'm not saying they were the best, but they were so diligent and they always showed up and they did the homework and they redid the homework and they kept doing it over and over based on the master's critiques. And so they got invited into an advanced apprenticeship program and now they're in the atelier and we're going to start an amazing adventure very, very soon in the atelier. I'll describe that a little later. But for now I want to talk about Michelangelo and then I'm going to go over to the computer and I'm going to be showing you how to do a photo shoot. This was just a spontaneous thing that happened this afternoon. My cats, I'm a cat lady as you can tell. I really need to be teaching courses on how to draw cats and dogs. And coincidentally, Pencil Drawing College has lots of lessons on how to draw cats and dogs because that's who we all tend to love our little critters. And so anyway, what Michelangelo, so I'm going to show you a photo shoot that happened spontaneously this afternoon. Peanut butter was inside this bag. There's been a bag on my couch for about a week because I haven't had time to put all the Christmas stuff away. And so it was Peanut Butter's turn to be in the bag. There's always a battle for the bag. Who gets to be inside the bag? The cat in the bag. And so it was Peanut Butter's turn this afternoon, and he was in there lounging, and Jelly and Toast were all concerned and circling the bag and trying to figure out how to strategically get themselves inside the bag and unseat Peanut Butter. And so I thought it was really funny watching this. And so they were doing this long enough that it gave me time to do a photo shoot. When you're shooting animals, a lot of times they won't sit still. And so it's difficult for you to get good photos. But I'm going to teach you after the motivational lecture, I'm going to go over to the computer and teach you what I did in my photo shoot this evening to get those photos that I got. And I think I got one or two that might be good enough. And I think I shot about 40 or 50 photos. And then I'm just going to talk about the different photos and how I modified things. So in case you're doing a photo shoot of your pets, it's going to be really helpful. Lynn, we're really glad you're here. Let me just go through the comments really quick while they're still here. I didn't want to give up my name, so I hyphenated my last name with my husband's. Yeah, some women do that, Lori. Let's see what else here. Present and accounted for. Hi, Kathleen. Kathleen's in my atelier too. And Lori's in my atelier. So is Boyd. And Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Okay, I think we've got all the comments caught up, so let me jump into our inspirational lecture about Michelangelo. Now, what I put up there to talk about Michelangelo is how he started his apprentice programs. When he was 12, that's when he joined his first apprenticeship. And he joined another one at 13. He had a wide curiosity, so he was interested in drawing and painting and sculpture and a lot of different things. So he apprenticed with a lot of different masters, and his talent showed up at a very early age. So he ended up being invited into some really prestigious ateliers as well. And that's what I look for in the students that I invite into my atelier is I look for people who have promise. They don't have to be the best. They just have to want to be the best. And I like working with people who go for the gold. And so, and you can be a stick figure artist when you start. I mean, my very strongest student, who's now a coach, because he's such a good master, was one of my very weakest students when he started. But he had the it factor. And I always say the it factor is the pursuit, the desire to be excellent, and the pursuit of all these amazing things that turn you into a master. So I'm going to talk about Michelangelo in the sense of what he did differently that American artists tend not to do, and that is American artists tend to be quote-unquote self-taught, and they even brag about that. And I think to myself, wow, why would you brag about something that's a liability? You don't see Diana Ross getting on the stage and saying, I'm a self-taught singer. I mean, she had coaching. You know, all these musicians who are at the top of their game, they hired people to coach them, voice coaches and acting coaches so that they could have a stage presence, and they had instrument coaches, whether it's the piano or the guitar or whatever. And you never see a musician bragging about being self-taught. I mean, why would you be self-taught when you don't need to spend decades figuring it out? Somebody's already figured it out, so just go study with that person, and that way you can go straight to the top. And that's what Michelangelo did that's different from amateurs. Amateurs in the United States are always saying, like I would say 90% of the, maybe 95% of the people that I see posting on Facebook are self-taught. And they hang out with other mediocre self-taught artists, and they exchange ideas and resources, and they all stay in the mediocre category, because nobody realizes that all masters apprenticed. They apprenticed with masters, and that's how they became masters. That's just the way that it works. And the reason we don't know that is because in American schools we don't teach art as a required subject. And when I taught at the International University, there was a huge difference between my Asian students and my American students, because Asian students, in the Asian culture, the arts are valued. Even their language is figurative. They have to know, good fine motor skills to do their language. And they really value the arts. You'll see Asian children are enrolled in music and dance and art and all of that stuff. And so my Asian students came into the United States International University, where I was a professor, and they were light years ahead of the American students, because if the American students had had any art, it might have been 1 or 2 years in high school, and that was it. So those students were in 2nd grade, and the Asian students might be in 14th grade. So it's not, it's the amount of time that you spend and who you spend it with, that makes the difference. And that's why Michelangelo went to the top, because he had the wisdom to go when he was 12 years old. He had a penchant for art, and in his culture, art was valued. And so he was allowed to pursue what he wants to do. In our culture, I can't tell you how many millions of parents have told their kids who are artists not to do that. It's just crazy. Instead of telling them how to do it or what to do, they just discourage them from going into it at all, instead of giving them an opportunity to apprentice. Here's a little soapbox speech that I have about our American schools. Our American schools, in my opinion, are designed to make everyone go to college. And if you aren't smart enough to succeed in the academic pursuits, you're sort of considered a loser, and you end up with some blue-collar job. Well, I used to teach at a high school in Illinois where they understood that there were many tracks for people. There was the kids that were going to go to college and be the white-collar workers in the cubicles, and there were students who were going to do what America calls blue-collar jobs, but the high school recognized that these students had talents and they should cultivate them. So in the morning, everybody came to the high school and they went through the main curriculum, and then in the afternoons, the students either went into the college track or they went into to a vocational high school, where they could become auto mechanics, they could become airplane pilots, they could become carpenters, they could apprentice with people who knew how to do that. So when they graduated from high school, they could either go on to college if they wanted to, or they could get a job with someone who was in the field that they wanted to be in because they had some experience. In fact, you've had millions of accidents in Illinois during the winter because snow and ice, a lot of times you can't control it and your car just spins out. So I had an accident and I took it over to the vocational high school and they fixed it for me. You know, the body shop over there that was teaching guys how to be body shop guys, they fixed it for me. And I even took an auto mechanics class myself over there to learn how to tune up my car and how to change the oil. And now I gladly hand them the money to do that, but at least I know what goes on under the hood. And so I love that was the way that school thought. It's a European way of thinking, you know, which is very unusual here in the States. In the States, almost everybody, you know, they think that waiters and waitresses are people who can't get a normal job. Whereas you go to Paris and there's waiters who've been waiters for 30 years. They're really good at it. We have a concierge in our building, and he's the best concierge I've ever seen in my life. He's so good at his job. And he's a professional concierge. In Europe, they have professional nannies. You can go to school to be a nanny. And I feel that everybody should apprentice with the people who know what they're doing because it makes you better at whatever you want to become. And it also saves you a ton of time trying to figure it out on your own. And it separates you from the herd. You know, somebody who's had an apprenticeship in art is going to be completely different than someone who is self-taught. In my opinion, self-taught is I'm not smart enough to go learn how to do this. I'm going to try to spend 30 years figuring it out on my own. You know, that's my opinion. The people who are smart, they go to the people who know how to do it and they skip that. Now, I was in the first category. I didn't know. I did take a 4-year degree in art, but they didn't teach much in those days. I learned how to draw, you know, sort of. And I learned some sculpture and ceramics. But I didn't learn that much in my college in art because the college was really good at teaching how to teach. But the art program was in the 60s where you throw paint at the campus. And, you know, not many of the traditional skills were being taught. Sit down, peanut butter. We're happy to see you. Hi. Why don't you take a nap? And so I didn't get that much training. So when I got out of college, I just was trying to read books. And I was self-taught because I didn't know any better. Nobody had taught me to be an apprentice. And that's when I ended up at a high school teaching art, and I had to teach art history. And that's how I discovered about apprenticeships. I started studying the masters, and they all apprenticed with masters, and that's how they skipped ahead. So they didn't have to spend 30 years becoming good. They could just become, peanut butter, stop. They could become good right away by apprenticing with masters who already knew how to do it. And so that's the difference between you and Michelangelo. One of the differences is that Michelangelo was part of the European system where the arts were valued. Even from younger days, families encouraged their kids to pursue whatever they were good at, whatever it was. And there are people in Europe who are masons, you know, bricklayers, and there's maybe 4 generations of bricklayers, and they're proud of it. They'll drive by a building and say, see, my grandfather laid those bricks, and I laid those, my father laid those, and you know, they take pride in their, you know, work. And there's nothing, you know, nothing about them that makes them less important or significant in the world. You know, we need bricklayers, and we need plumbers, and we need auto mechanics, and we need pilots, and we need artists, and we need musicians, and we need theater actors, and you know, we need all that stuff to make our life rich, and we need people who are good at it. And so the way to become good at it is to apprentice. And what happens when you apprentice is you shorten your time by decades. I mean, literally, you can master art in days instead of decades. And so that is kind of our motivational speech today is, if you want to be an artist, that is a valid desire. cancel what your mom and dad said. Your mom and dad are usually right about most things, but if they said you weren't destined for art, they were wrong. You know, if you have that whisper in your heart and you've always wanted to pursue it, I'm giving you permission. You are allowed to do that. And I'm going to just briefly touch on the way that we do it in the Angelo atelier and apprenticeships. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. We're going to be releasing Pencil Drawing College, which is grade 1, and we actually have 7 grades in the Angelo program, and they're apprenticeships, and you can take a short apprenticeship, which is what pencil drawing is going to be, really short, and then we have an atelier where a few people from every level, sometimes even when you first enter the program, if you have the burning desire and we interview you, and you may not have any particular skills, but we can tell that you've got the it factor, we will even invite you into the atelier early in your program so that you can spend a whole year going through, you know, drawing and color theory and composition and perspective and methods and materials for colored pencil and other media. And you can learn how to draw from your own photos and learn how to turn them into masterpieces and learn how to market your art so that you can become, you know, make money doing what you love. Either a little money or a lot of money doesn't, or maybe you don't want to earn money. You have the choice. We talked about yesterday that Nita didn't want to do that. And it took her a while to figure that out, but she finally figured out that's not what she wanted. And so you can make it whatever you want it to be. So we're actually going to be launching Pencil Drawing College a couple days late because we had some technological issues. We never let the dragons, we call technological issues dragons, but we never let the dragons win. We always win. Sometimes it just takes us a little longer to win. And I had a battle with the dragons the last couple days. So instead of launching Pencil Drawing College tomorrow, we're going to launch it on Saturday. And that's good because those of you who work will be home, so you'll be there to get that email before everybody else opens it up, and maybe you'll get a space in Pencil Drawing College. We really limit the number of spaces because I'm actually involved one-on-one with each of you. I actually coach you and critique your work. And tomorrow night, by the way, we're going to do some more critiques. So if you have, I'll put a post up here for you to comment on and post your work in if you'd like to have some critiques, because we're going to do some more critiquing tomorrow night. I know you guys really love that. But just kind of to give you a sneak peek of what happens in Pencil Drawing College. So, peanut butter just bit me. I'm trying to train him not to bite the hand that feeds him. But I think it's his way of saying, I've had enough. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I just lost my train of thought. Has that ever happened to you? Anyway, so we're going to be launching Pencil Drawing College on Saturday, so watch your inbox, and probably come on Saturday morning into your box. And like I said, there's just a limited number of spaces because we're going to be having 2 masters in there coaching you, and we want to make sure that we don't take on too many people so that way everybody gets private attention. So it's going to be a really limited amount of space. And then we'll either leave it open for a couple days or we'll close it early if it fills up too fast. So, and then right after that, we actually had a few spaces opened up in the atelier too. So we're going to be accepting some applications for that. So if you think you're interested in, peanut butter, stop. If you think you're interested in a full year of training going from grade 1 through grade 7 in 1 year together, then we're going to issue some applications for the atelier too. Okay, so that's all the logistics. And if you joined us late, always go back and watch the beginning, because a lot of time I make the announcements at the beginning, but I'll just repeat myself in saying that because of the technological dragons, which we will beat, we are going to broadcast 2 extra nights in Sandyland. So instead of stopping tomorrow night, we're going to be stopping on Saturday. And so you get 2 extra. Thanks to the technological dragons, you get 2 extra nights in Sandyland with me, and I've been really enjoying being with you, so I'm really looking forward to having extra time. Okay, so I'm going to head to the computer right now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about composition, which is our lesson for tonight. I want to just check the comments and see if there's any questions before I do that. I don't want to shut this off accidentally. If I ever shut it off, just hi Sandra, hi Lavana. If I ever shut this off, you just have to go back to hi Susan and hi Gail. You have to go back to Sandyland and look under discussions, and I will appear there in a live video. Sometimes I have my blonde roots dominate, and I accidentally hit the wrong button and it shuts off. So I'm going to try not to let that happen tonight. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to head over to the other side of the room, and I'm going to have to unplug this first. See if I can get this to reverse. I got it on the first try. Woo! Getting so good at this. Okay. PB's paying attention tonight. He's not sleeping through the broadcast. Kind of unusual for him. He likes to take a nap. You know, cats take about 20 naps a day, so about this time of night is his 18th nap. Okay, let's see if we can get this pointed in the right direction. Apologize for the bumpiness while this transition happens. For someone who was nominated for an Emmy for my videography, it always bothers me when I have to be bumpy. Okay, so peanut butter, there was a battle for the bag this afternoon, and peanut butter had it first, but then toast had it last, and I put these up here from the last to the front. Actually, I think maybe I'll go start on peanut butter. So this is what happened. I saw peanut butter over there in the bag. Okay, this is where it starts. And I thought, oh wow, this would make a good drawing. And so I started shooting, and first of all, I just took a shot hoping that I would get him to not come out of the bag and hoping that he would hold still. So usually my first shot, I don't plan the composition. I'm just trying to capture the antics because I figure I can fix it later if the cat moves. But I was really lucky this time because he didn't move, and so I was able to angle it. Now, whenever you're doing a composition, by the way, you don't learn this in pencil drawing college, but you learn it in the atelier, how to do compositions. So see these negative spaces, it's kind of horizontal. And so when I saw that I had more time, I put it on an angle. So now this is a more interesting negative space, and this is a triangle. So that's more interesting, and this is more triangular. And the angle kind of leads you to the focal point, okay? Whereas over here, see that it wasn't as interesting? Feel free to post comments, by the way, because it's good for us to be interactive. So see how I knew he was going to hold still, so now I could think in terms of composition. And we go into 7 principles of composition in the atelier. You learn all about that. How to compose a picture with your camera, or if your camera didn't catch it, how to modify your photo so that you can compose better. So now I'm still shooting, and of course Toast likes to be the center of attention. She always gets jealous whenever anybody else is on stage. So she photobombs. So that's the third picture, is Toast photobombing. And this is so typical of her. And now Jelly, who's more timid, she decided that she wanted to get involved too. And so she photobombed, but she's always much more gentle about it. And so that might even be a composition, you know, for me to add her to this side of the drawing might even be an interesting option. So then I didn't show all the photo bombs. There were lots of them, but most of the time it was toast. Whenever I talk to one of the other kitties and I, gush over them or tell them what a sweetie pie they are, she always comes running into the room and meows and shoves her way into being the center of attention. I call her Miss Jealousy. So another photo bomb. Now I decided to get down more on his level so that I could see his eyes. And again, I'm not sure if he's going to stay put, so I'm just leaving it horizontal. And that had the better eyes. Now I'm turning it more diagonal, but now he's starting to move. See, so I'm glad I got that composition because I could use that composition even in this one where it's more diagonal. I could just put his head right in here. Okay, so if you can compose from scratch, you can modify, but that's very advanced. Even in the atelier, they don't do that until the very end of the year. So, because composing from scratch is really, really difficult. Now, I decided to move over. Here I'm shooting from this angle. I decided to move to this angle to see if my shots would be more interesting. And again, my first shot is just trying to catch the cat before it moves, which is often what you're doing with dogs and cats and kids. And then I zeroed in to go closer because I thought maybe it would be more interesting. One of the principles of composition is zooming in to get a close-up. So I did that. I had time to experiment. And then everybody came over and they decided, I'd done maybe 30 shots by now, and I went in the other room, and so all the cats came and kind of settled in. And this might be kind of an interesting drawing too, because this is so typical of them. They're such a trio. I got them all on the same day, and I had a lot of time off because I wasn't working for about 2 months, and so I spent time with them every single day, hours and hours. So we all bonded and we just hang out together, and this is very common for us, so this might be a good drawing or a good composition too. Now this one isn't as good because, see, they're not looking except for peanut butter, and so it might be good to combine this one with toast and jelly here. So if you're really advanced, that's like grade 12. We don't get that far in the first year. But if you're really advanced, you can add, use different photos and combine them. So now Toast decided, this was like maybe 20 minutes later, Toast had finally chased peanut butter out of the bag, and she was dominating because she felt like she needed to be the superstar and peanut butter was getting too much attention. So I shot this one with a flash, and I always shoot with and without a flash, and sometimes the flash is really good and sometimes it's bad. Now this is really bad. See, I'm getting flash shadows, and it's destroying all the detail in her face. Whereas when I shot without the flash, I'm getting a lot more detail in her face. So now cats will often move their ear in an awkward way when they feel like things are going weird. So I like the ears better in this one, but this one is a little lighter, so I can see more detail in the face to get the details that I need. So I will often shoot a whole bunch of photos just to get all the information that I need for one drawing. And so, and I usually, it's not uncommon for me to shoot 100 photos of one thing because it takes that many to get all the information. You can see this one is really bad, and I threw it in because I wanted you to know that a lot of the photos that I shoot are bad, okay? I don't want you to think that I'm always shooting great photos. It takes, if you're shooting 100 photos of the same subject, probably 75 of them are going to be bad, and then maybe another 15 might be okay, and then maybe 5 might be good, and then 2 might be the best. So that's why you just have to shoot to get a really good one. Now I like this cropping in a little bit more. Again, a diagonal is leading me to the focal point. I'm not sure how I feel about the string here. I think it's okay to leave that in. You don't want to feel like the animal is being hurt in any way, but that's loose enough that it's not hurting her. And I really like this one probably the best. I like the negative spaces here. I like the angle that's leading me to the focal point. I like the position of her face and the position of her ears. There's enough information there. And then I had just gotten something from Land's End in the mail order. And so that's why this was in there. I might leave that in there, or maybe I'll put in, toast, put in her name or something, or do something fun with that, or maybe leave it blank. So all of those things are options that I would think about when I was creating this drawing. But I like this one the best. I'm going to put a heart on it because I like that one the best. Okay. Now that one is going back to the beginning. And then the other option that I had was I was thinking that it might be kind of fun to do the one with all of them, but I would use this and then I would use this one for peanut butter, So those are some possibilities. My kitties are always entertaining me every day. They make me laugh and they give me cuddles, and I put up with peanut butter because he's really the most snuggly and loving cat I have, and he's also the biggest rascal. And so, they are our joy, and it's kind of like having a perpetual 2-year-old in your house. So now I'm going to go back to my table, and we're going to finish up the broadcast, and then we'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. So we were going to end the series tomorrow, but instead we're going to end on Saturday. So you get 2 extra bonus days. And we're going to launch Pencil Drawing College on Saturday. I've had the fire on all day today because it's dipped below 70. And it's been raining for almost 3 days, which is really unusual in California. And I need to get a hold of the tax office and see if I can get a pro rating on my taxes, because we pay a sunshine tax here. Question, Sandra, Angelo. On the picture of toast that you like the best, there's a lot of negative space. Would you crop that closer so the majority of the drawing will be more of toast? No, Lori, I would not crop that. Because negative space can be very dynamic, and negative space can be very interesting. In fact, a lot of times you need negative space to balance all the texture in the positive space. And so it's important for you to think about your negative space whenever you are composing. For example, right now, I'm wearing a jacket that's about 7 sizes too big. But I'm thinking about what I wear when I'm on camera. See all the colors in here. The blue actually is a complement for my skin tone, so I planned that. You'll notice that my angle is like this, diagonal, and you'll notice that there's negative space up here on the wall to give you a little bit of a break, because there's all this pattern, there's the pattern of all my shelves right there, my storage cabinet, and all the pencils on the back. And so you need a little relief. You need some negative space to give the viewer some relief. And so if you don't leave a little bit of negative space to balance all the busyness, a lot of times it can be too jumbled and the viewer has trouble deciding where to focus. So, but we go into more of that in the atelier. And so anyway, thanks for the question. That was a really good question. You always ask such good questions. Let me just see if there's any more questions about composition or anything else. Thank you for commenting too, because Kathleen, she lost contact. Marianne says every time I bring the camera out, Cinnamon looks at it. Yeah, that's Toast. She's always wanting... Oh, she wants to know... anyone having trouble with the sound. You know what? Once in a while lately, my internet has not been the greatest. It used to be the best. It was cable, and I just never had any problems ever. And recently, I've had a lot of problems. So I think a lot of these cable companies are getting so greedy that they're downgrading our services and then trying to get us to pay more to upgrade it. So if you have trouble watching any of these broadcasts, one thing that I would recommend is just take 3 or 4 hours and go to Starbucks. They have really comfortable chairs, and you can put a headset on and you can just listen to the broadcast, or go to a hotel lobby where they have, actually hotel lobbies don't have internet usually, but Starbucks does. And there's some restaurants that do too. Obviously in a restaurant you'd need to pay for your food and for the time that you're in that booth, so you wouldn't offend the proprietor. But at Starbucks, buy a cup of coffee and a little roll or whatever you want to eat, and then go ahead and sit there and listen to the broadcast, because that internet's going to be good. Starbucks has to pay for good internet. So if you're having trouble hearing any of the broadcasts, go ahead and go there. From North Cumberland in the UK. Hi, we're so glad that you're here. I don't know what time it is in there. Wendy. Hi, Wendy. We're glad you're here from the UK. I did a tour of the UK recently. We went to Highclere Castle to see where they filmed Downton Abbey. Then I went to the Lake District to see Beatrix Potter's beautiful home and her original art. Oh, the only place in the world you can see her originals. And we went to the National Portrait Gallery in London. We stayed in the Vanderbilt Mansion. We went to Kensington Palace. We just had a wonderful time. We went to the Cotswolds. And it's 4:22 a.m. Boy, that's dedication, Wendy. I'm impressed. You're getting up at 4:22 in the morning to hear the live broadcast. Good for you. I bet it's raining there. Raining or snowing. It's actually raining here in California. Very unusual for us. And so I love the UK, though. I love the people. And I was brought up in British schools. We had uniforms at our boarding schools, and we played rugby, and we had high tea and low tea every day, and the sandwiches and marmalade, and all the things British. In fact, one of my British students' apprentices was posting today, and she was talking about how she almost got hit by a lorry. And I know what a lorry is, because I was brought up British, and I have a British accent when I want to use it. So we're real glad you're here, Wendy, from the UK. And I know we have some people, Sandra's from Gibraltar, and we have some people from Australia and Japan and Germany. Inez is from Germany. And we have people from all over the U.S. here, too. So I feel so honored that you guys are taking the time to come in here and spend time together with all the people who are crazy about art and, who really, really enjoy pursuing that. It's just, there's something about being with your tribe. You can talk to some people and their eyes or face just glazes over, and that nothing's getting through. And you can talk to other people and their head is nodding and they're shaking their head and they're excited, and then they contribute and they say something too. And it's just fun to be with people who have the same passions that you do. And it's universal. Art is universal. It's all over the world. We have, students from literally 5 continents in my apprenticeships and my atelier. And that's what's so fun about it. You can take the lessons whenever it's convenient for you, and you can post whenever it's convenient for you, and that way you don't have to travel to take classes. And I don't have to travel either. I was so glad in the last 3 days I didn't have to go outside, because it's raining and Californians don't know how to drive in the rain. So I was glad I didn't have to be a part of all that madness. I know those of you who are living in snow country are just shaking your head and going, seriously? You're upset over rain? You should see the snowbanks outside my window. I know, I used to live in Chicago. We had 120 inches of snow, and it didn't melt for 4 months. We literally had to shovel the roofs because the roofs were caving in. It took 6 hours to shovel the driveway, and it was the length of a Volkswagen Bug. So I got out of that, and I'm here in what I call heaven on earth in San Diego. So that's tonight's broadcast. Your motivational speech is be unusual, be smart, and go get apprenticeships with a master so that you can outdo your competition. One of the things I like about the fact that our culture is disintegrating, I don't like that. But one of the things I like about it, and one advantage, is that if you speak well and you have manners and you're kind and considerate and thoughtful to your customers, and you go and get really good training, you will be light years ahead of your competition. Because your competition, they don't always speak well, and they swear. And they, they don't understand the rules in art. They haven't apprenticed. They haven't hung out with other people who know what to do, masters and stuff like that. So you can really separate yourself from the competition by going and getting an apprenticeship and learning the rules of the art world. In the Atelier program, I teach you a lot about what it's like to be an artist. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, because every business has its ups and downs. It's just a fact of life. I was on a coaching call today with my coach that I apprentice with. I'm apprenticing with him in business. And he has literally made my business increase by 400% in the last year. I mean, that's worth every penny that I'm paying him. And so we had a call today with all the other advanced students in that program. He has, I think it's 100,000 students all over the world. I think he's in 59 countries. And it was my goal last year when I worked with him to end up being on his stage and be in his top 10. And I achieved that goal this year. I'm in his top 10, and I got promoted to his advanced program. And so, like a lot of my apprentices who are watching the broadcast right now, Marianne is one, and Lori's one, and Boyd is another one, and these people have been invited into the Atelier because of their hard work and dedication. And speaking of that, Marianne was at the bottom. When she started, she was one of the weakest. We had 3 really weak students, Linda and Marianne and Teresa. And Marianne and Teresa have continued with us, and they've gotten gold stars. I mean, that's huge in the apprenticeship programs to get a gold star. And it's partly because we have 2 amazing coaches. I go in there and critique your work, and then our Atelier master, Bruce, is going to be in there critiquing your work this year too. And I've never seen so many gold stars because we just do such a good job of helping you see what you're doing wrong. And a gold star means you made it. You made it. That piece is the best it can be. And that's what we try to do, is turn you into an Olympic artist. Okay, so I see there's no more questions. So I love hanging out with you guys. This is my favorite time of the day. I love doing this. And I do need to let you know that, because a lot of people ask this question, is that once we're done with these free lessons, I'll be gone. So I'll be saving all of my time and energy for the people in Pencil Drawing College and in the Atelier program. And I usually only do something like this once a year. Peanut butter, stop photobombing. Because I want to spend all my time and energy coaching and making people, helping people make their dreams come true. So I can't spend it in Sandyland because I only have so much time and energy. And we keep the groups really small so that I can invest a lot in those and really see them grow. in that year, and it's just epic to see the changes. I mean, it's super, super fun. And this year, the advanced apprentices moved up to the atelier, the prestigious atelier. They got invitations. Almost everybody was invited. We only had a couple people that weren't invited just because they never showed up and they didn't do the work. But even the weakest ones were invited, and we're going to be having a live session here in San Diego in my studio. And so it's super, super fun to have a tribe and belong someplace where the people are just like you, and you see heads nodding, and you get tips from each other, and you just feel like a family. And the cool thing about this family is you don't get the dysfunctional ones. Sometimes the people that are issued to you and your family are not necessarily someone you'd want to hang out with. But in this tribe, we keep everybody playing nice. And you're welcome, Marianne, for the compliment. It's well deserved. You have worked so hard. So proud of you. I literally love working with people who have no natural talent, because the transformation is just epic. And they usually are some of the best students. They work the hardest because they know they have to. Some of the more gifted ones don't work as hard. But, some of the gifted ones do. So anyway, that's what we try to do here in the Angelo Apprentice and Atelier program. So tomorrow I'm going to actually be taking you behind the scenes. I think it's tomorrow. I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes inside of Colored Pencil College so that you'll get to see what all the courses, not Colored Pencil, Pencil Drawing College. We're not doing Colored Pencil College this year, except in the atelier. And so we're going to take you inside Colored Pencil College so you can kind of see what that's like. We want to make sure that when we open it up that the people who join really know what they're getting, so that we don't have anybody who is in the wrong spot. We only want the people who want to be there. And so we're very discriminatory about who we let in. And, some people talked about money back guarantees. Well, we don't do that. And it's because we give you this, preview ahead of time so you can see if you're going to like it or not. And we also noticed that people who want a money back guarantee tend to be the people who don't show up. And they tend to be the people who aren't sure. And we really want to work with people who are sure, because I have a very limited amount of time. I work like crazy making your life amazing. And I don't want to spend that energy on somebody who's going to drop out. So we just make sure by just giving you this immense amount of preview of what it's like to be in the village. It's so different than an art class. It's we're in here telling you motivation. We're telling you the history of art and how it relates to you. We're telling you marketing plans and how to build a website and how to do this all. That all happens in the atelier. And all the master's methods and stuff. But it's just like you almost join a community. You really do. You join a community. You join an art family. We call it the Art Village. And we're the tribe. So that's it for tonight. I kind of talked a little extra than I probably even needed to, but I just love hanging out with you. And isn't it cool? I mean, is it not the coolest thing in the world that here we are with Inez in Germany, with Junko in Japan, with Wendy in the UK, with Boyd in Wisconsin, with Marianne up in Seattle, with some of you on the East Coast buried in snow, and here we are. We're hanging out together. Is that not the coolest thing? I love technology most of the time. It really is awesome, and it's worth the nuisance that you go through when it's not working. So, super excited that nowadays you can study with a master even if you don't live anywhere near one. And you don't have to drive there and try to find a parking space and go through the snow and, all the inclement weather. You could just learn in your PJs. And so it's super awesome that we have this wonderful advantage. It's just been epic for me to be able to do this. So we'll be back again tomorrow night at 7:30 like usual. You get 2 extra bonus days because we're still fighting the dragons over here, trying to finalize everything for Pencil Drawing College. And like I said, we had a few spots open up in the atelier. And so we're actually, after we do Pencil Drawing College and we get everybody enrolled in that, then we're going to take applications for the atelier. Anybody, even people who signed up for Pencil Drawing College, can apply. And then we'll do some interviews with you to see who belongs there. And see if we can get a few of you on that fast track to success where you have the whole year with coaching. In Pencil Drawing College, you're going to have coaching for 4 weeks, a whole month. And then in the atelier, I think it's 9 or 10 months. And we go from grade 1 all the way through grade 7, whereas in pencil drawing, we go through grade 1. So anyway, I have loved being with you. Peanut Butter and I have really enjoyed spending our time together with you. Peanut Butter's waving goodbye, and so am I. And remember, in Sandyland, we always go for the gold. And when you go for the gold, there will be miracles. Good night.